Celtic fans, welcome back to Celtic World Order podcast. As always, I'm Paddy Boy. But today, as you can see, I'm not joined by Steve-O or Stevie. I'm joined by the wonderful Beth Wallace of the Scottish Football Show. Beth is a radio presenter, an Aberdeen fan, which is quite strange for us having one of them on, but we're going to break down the rescheduled Aberdeen game, talk a wee bit about that, talk about what we expect from it, talk about what Beth expects from it, break down the team, break down the press conferences and everything else along with that. Get involved in the chat, let us know your thoughts, let us know what you expect, and we will carry on from there. So Beth, welcome to Celtic World Order podcast. How are you doing?
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. It's a different one being on a Celtic podcast, that's for sure. Been invited on a couple of Aberdeen podcasts, but never a Celtic one. So hopefully people won't abuse me.
That's fine. No, the boys are all good in here, pal. You'll no struggle. So, as always, guys, please, if you haven't hit the subscribe button, hit the subscribe button. You can get us across all of our social medias. You know where we are. We're on X, we're on TikTok, we're on Insta, we're on pretty much everything that is out there. And please also go follow Beth on there as well. Anyway, right. Both clubs this season, Beth, have, we've started a little bit different to what we would have expected. If you'd have said to me that we'd have been sitting third at this moment in time and that Aberdeen would have been sitting eighth, I would have told you were sniffing glue, to be perfectly honest. How's it been for an Aberdeen fan? Did you have bigger expectations, obviously, after the Scottish Cup win against us? Did you expect to be in a better situation for here?
Yeah, 100%. My expectations for Aberdeen are always top four and probably really should be in that third position, to be quite honest, with the finances, etc., in comparison to the other clubs. The end of last season, Aberdeen had started to go downhill. They hadn't been great. The Scottish Cup win was a bit of a shock with how poor Aberdeen had been. But then you did kind of think, okay, Aberdeen will go and kick on here because they've won a Scottish Cup. That'll give the players a buzz, the club, the city, etc. And it did kind of feel like that for a bit. And then, obviously, the start of the season, dreadful run of going without a win. And then we lost Jimmy Tulane, which was the right decision in the end. Things had to change. So the Scottish Cup win, I think, kind of papered up the cracks at maybe how bad things were already starting to be with Aberdeen. And we've really seen this season and into the later stages of the season how bad the situation is. We've obviously not got a manager. Jimmy Tulane's been out sacked for weeks and weeks now, and that kind of shows you maybe some issues at board level with making those kind of decisions. So yeah, 8th in the league is just not acceptable for Aberdeen. It's been a pretty big disaster of a season. We're obviously still in the Scottish Cup and got Dunfermline at the weekend, so there's a little bit of hope there. But it's just not been good enough at all.
Yeah, you speak about the Scottish Cup being a shock for you. It was a fucking shock for us, let me tell you. We kind of expected to come in there and steamroller you, I'll be pretty honest.
Yeah.
I remember I was doing the preview show and myself and Steve were at Hampden, the previous Celtic Aberdeen game, and that was obviously in the Cup, when he's were on a 7-game win streak at that point, top of the league, battering everybody that came, including ourselves, you get the draw with us and whatever. I'm sitting going, wow, this will be a tough one. And we beat 6-0 that day. And I thought, wow, that's us. And that kind of knocked you off your rhythm a good bit, and then that's where the season kind of went a wee bit from there. But we're going into this new one and we were thinking, we've got them on toast here. This is easy. It's only Aberdeen and whatever. And then obviously he's got the draw, went into penalties, and Kasper Schmeichel done what Kasper Schmeichel does and didn't save any penalties. But yeah, listen, that's all over with. Obviously, you know I work offshore, guys, and I'm in Aberdeen constantly, and I work with quite a lot of Aberdeen fans. So for me, there was a wee bit of niceness in there. I like to see some of them getting a wee bit of the cake that the Glasgow boys had enough of over the last few seasons. So that was nice to kind of give that back. You speak about the board level as well at Aberdeen there, Beth. Are you going to jump on the bandwagon with us Celtic fans and start a sack the board protest and have posters of people and all that, and we outside the stadium, are you?
I don't think we'll be as aggressive and forward as the Celtic fans have been with their feelings towards the board this year. But I think as time goes on, it'll start heading that way. Look, Aberdeen have had an interim manager 5 seasons out of 6 at this point over the past 6 years, which is, it just shows you that the right decisions management-wise haven't been made correctly. The length of time it's taken for a manager to come in is a joke as well. We've gotten this director of football in Lutz, who's been seen sat in the dugout, which I don't agree with. Apparently it's the German way, but whatever, blah, blah, blah. And we've had all these loan players coming in January because obviously we're not signing guys on long term because you can't really sign people on long term when you've not got a manager there. So the January window hasn't really worked for us either. 1 or 2 players that maybe look okay, like Lyle Cameron from Rangers. I thought he's been decent in parts. But again, that's a mess as well because the management situation wasn't sorted out before January. So they really need to get the appointment right. Otherwise, I think there will be similar disgruntlement like there is at Celtic.
Yeah, you look at it, what you're saying just resonates totally with us. Poor January transfer window, interim managers. Like we were the same interim manager twice in the same season. I don't know if that's ever happened. Obviously, thank you very much, Martin, for coming back and saving us again from Mr. Nancy, who we won't talk about. There's so many things that each club talk about. And when you look at how Hearts have done and where they're sitting, they've had that stability, they've had that investment, they've had backing from the board level and things like that. So it just shows that regardless of what team you are, you still need to have that structure in place. Now, you'd say there, you've got the director of football and he's sitting in the dugout, whatever. We don't have a director of football at Celtic. Now, we were all talking there and having, like, when Mark Neill finishes his managerial career at Celtic, possibly stepping up into the boardroom as a director of football. And I think that'd be a fantastic option just to have him in there, to have that experience in there.
Yeah.
So that's something that I think all of the clubs kind of lack. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, it is what it is.
I think your difficulty with putting Martin O'Neill in that role is the fact that the man's 74 years old, you know.
Exactly. But then, listen, he's a 74-year-old manager who was breaking up fights at the weekend. You know what I mean?
On his 74th birthday, did he really think that's what he would be doing? I bet you he did not.
I know. It's absolute madness, honestly. Like, it's just, when I seen him running onto the park, I was just like, oh my God, like, somebody come and get their granddad. It was a wee bit, a bit mad. But that's Martin Neill. That's what he does. He's got that passion, he's still got that bite.
Yeah.
It loves the club so much. Do you know what I mean? And the man's immortal, in my opinion. He really is. He's an absolute gem of a man. He's come back and he's done us an absolute fantastic service. I want to kind of touch on what you had said there, and you says about the January transfer window for you guys. Obviously, we're loan FC. We basically, if you could get somebody on loan, we've brought them in.
Yeah.
A few of them have kicked off. A few of them have done okay. Is it a similar situation for you guys where you get rid of a certain type of player, somebody like your Papa Gay and whatever, and you're not bringing in that same quality? You're not bringing in like for like, basically. Is that the kind of situation you guys are sitting in?
Yeah, like I was at the Aberdeen Hearts game at Tynecastle on Saturday for the big Scottish football show, and I was looking at the 2 sets of team sheets, and you could look at Hearts and you had Braga, you had Kabore, and then of course you've got Devlin, Shankland, who are out injured as well. I'm like, that's all players that I can say are really good players. And I look at my Aberdeen squad and I don't go and look at any of them and go, oh, he's a player. Which just, how are you meant to win football games if there's nobody in your squad you're excited about? Or you think, oh, we're going to go and sell him on at some point. So yeah, I think the recruitment at Aberdeen has been poor. You know, you're mentioning Papa Gay. When Papa Gay first came, I didn't think he could even play football. Somehow we managed to turn him into a little bit of a player. I think I still wasn't 100% convinced that some of it wasn't fluky, but he was better than what we currently have in the building. We brought Nisbet back in. and he's so hot and cold as well. You really need a striker in there that is going to be scoring goals consistently. You've never replaced Miofsky. Okay, that's a hard ask to do, but I just think we really need a clear out. There's a lot of guys that are maybe too old almost to be playing that level. A lot of respect, and he has been a talented player in the past for Shinnie. He does still put in a good performance now and then, but I just don't think he has the legs that he once did. He's maybe somebody that you would have on the bench or around your squad for the experience. But even, Devlin and the defence, you've got Nielsen, who they brought in, who, again, they brought him on a long contract when he's in his early mid-30s, which, what are you giving a player such a long contract for at that age? Stuart Armstrong, again, he's been a good player, but again, he's just maybe not what he once was, not as young as he once was. So I think we're needing the balance between young, fresh whippersnappers and experience, but not having to rely on those experienced players too much.
Yeah, no, listen, totally understand that. And like I say, again, everything kind of resonates. It's so much that you're saying is very, very similar to your club. Jerry Boy comes in the chat there as well. He says, we need a goal scorer too, Beth, so we know the feeling. He spoke about Miofsky, obviously, when he was at Hughes, we were linked with him, and I think it was something like 5.5 million. And at that point, I was like, give him it. Just bring him in. Guy's doing incredible. And then obviously he goes out to Girona, doesn't really kick it off, doesn't really do much out there. Looks like he loses a shit ton of weight, if I'm being honest, and comes back just looking like a shadow of the man that he was at Aberdeen. And I'm quite glad that he hasn't kicked on. Obviously at the other side of Glasgow. Nisbet as well, another one that we were apparently linked with. And I think when you're at Celtic, obviously you need a striker. It's anybody that's Scottish, Irish, has any links with. When Brendan was there, it was any links with Leicester or Martin Neill was there. So it was you kind of looking about the Irish contingent and whatever, things like that. Do you know what I mean? So you get linked with so many strikers, even Kieran Bowie as well. Tawanda Matsuanisi, who, let's be honest, any team in the Premier League will be lucky to have him. Motherwell are doing incredible because obviously your man's on fantastic form. So there's a lot of players out there. And I'm under the assumption, I still kind of old school Celtic, where I think that we should be picking the best players for each Scottish team and just taking them and saying, well, I don't want to. So, do you know what I mean? That's kind of.
I think there's a reluctance to do that with Rangers and Celtic to, maybe pay the full asking price that maybe Scottish teams are asking for like your Maswinisis or your Kieran Bowies or your Miofskis, because it's funding and supporting the other teams around them. But I think the gap's so big that it really wouldn't make a difference if that money was given across.
No, 100%, and it's like not giving them money because that'll make them better and that'll make them challenges. The best thing to happen this season is that there's now 4 teams going for the league, in my opinion, because you cannot write Motherwell off. You really can't. Motherwell are absolutely flying, and they're probably the informed team at the minute when you look at it. So, I've got no qualms of going in there and buying a Kieran Bowie for 5 million or buying a Matsu and he say for 3 million they were asking for him. Absolute pennies. Do you know what I mean? Absolute nothing compared to what Celtic have paid for previous players. You just need to look at our midfield. You guys like Army Engels in there, 12 million. Do you know what I mean? We paid 9 million for Adam Ida, who, couldn't have laced Matsu when he says boots. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of players in there and a lot of kind of similarities in each clubs. What else have we got here? What am I doing? I wanted to touch on the general feeling. The Aberdeen fans obviously coming into a game here that's obviously been rescheduled. Do you feel like the rescheduling has helped use in a way that, like, I think when it was due to be played, we were fine. Well, we weren't fine. We'd won a good few games and we were kind of coming off the back of good European results and coming into it. And I was quite happy to get it done and out of the way. Rescheduling it, putting it in amongst a 4 away game streak where we've played Stuttgart, Rangers, Aberdeen, then Rangers again. I just feel like we've got kind of fixture congestion. Does that play into your hands?
I think a wee bit it does, because obviously all the pressure is on Celtic in this current situation with the result at the weekend. Obviously, they would have been looking for the win to close the gap on Hearts. So with every game that comes Celtic's way, there'll be that nerves because they know if it goes wrong or if they drop points, then there's less and less chance of them winning the league. And the pressure of that for Celtic, who have been title holders for however many years it has been now, must be massive. And guys who've been in the club for a while, that must feel really heavy on them because they'll be so used to being winners and it being easy winning as well. They've not had to necessarily dig deep and ride out a championship. So yeah, I think there is that slight benefit that the pressure in the States is a lot higher. And if Aberdeen, go a goal up, then it starts to get a little bit nervy. Or if it's a 1-1 situation, people maybe start to do panic passes and just kick the ball away, make those mistakes. So I think there is that slight benefit for Aberdeen, which I would be more confident about the game if Aberdeen haven't been so dreadful recently.
You have been on a bit of a poor run. Dan's come in there. How do you feel about your pitch? Is your pitch back up to scratch yet?
There's a couple of bits that maybe aren't the healthiest, I would say, after all the weather. I think Dundee United's pitch is worse than ours, though. They got the worst of the weather. But yeah, I think, I believe, but I'm not actually sure if it's true. There was rumours going about they were going to take up the pitch early during the international break and restart again rather than wait until the summer. So that might happen, but obviously that doesn't benefit tomorrow evening.
Are they going to plant tatties on it so they get someone to lift come the summer? That was the old joke we used to use about Rangers, wasn't it? I lost my train of thought there, sorry. Your park, it's had a bit of stick, but listen, I understand where that comes from. Obviously working in the North Sea and whatever else, I see the kind of weather that you're
freezing.
It's freezing. It's and the weather's always garbage in Aberdeen. Let's be honest. That when obviously I met you up in Aberdeen, I think they did a 28-day streak without the sun, which was just absolutely unreal. So it just kind of shows, and I don't know how you're supposed to keep a pitch in good order. I'm just happy it's grass, and not one of these artificial parts that some of the other clubs have got. So, that's kind of where I'm at with it. A few guys coming in here, it's because the sheep eat all the grass.
Yeah, that's what they do. They don't have like a lawn cutter or anything. They just put some sheep out.
Just fire out the sheep. Yeah. So, like I said before, Beth, I mean, you guys are sitting 8th in the league, right? You say start of the season you expected maybe 3rd or 4th. What kind of things going to be given to your manager at the start of that season? Like, I know obviously you've changed manager and whatever else, but what's the goal going to have been to him? Is it going to be saying, like, get a good cup run, finish 3rd or 4th in the league? Is that kind of where they're going to be sitting at? Is that?
Yeah, I think so. That's where I think Aberdeen's expectations from the fans, the board, the players always is that 3rd, 4th position, looking for a European spot and to give the fans those away trips and that extra money to the club, which is really, really appreciated. Yeah. Whether then we go into this new season and have to reevaluate things a bit, because actually we've went down the way, but the people around us have went up. Obviously, Hearts are top of the league. The Jamestown Analytics has clearly done a very good job because of some of the players that they've brought in and scouted. You've also got a fantastic Motherwell manager in Jens. Is he still there at the end of the season? I don't think he will be. So then that changes that situation there. But Aberdeen just have to get the management appointment right. And at the minute, with the previous appointments and how things have went, I don't think the fans have the confidence that they will get it right.
Fair play. Who's the ideal candidate for you? Who's your man?
Well, I don't know, to be honest. So they were interested in Hornland, and that seemed to be like it was set on, done deal. And then obviously that fell through. Everything changed. They put all their eggs in the one basket there, which has now seen them in this position. Because they've taken so long to make a decision, it also kind of means you can't go and choose within the Scottish market. You can't go for a John McGlynn. You can't go for a Stephen Robinson, because if you do, then your fans are going, so you took all this time to appoint just Stephen Robinson or just John McGlynn. And that's no slight on those two managers. They're great managers. But if you're taking such a long time, it didn't need to take that long length of a time to appoint those two. So honestly, I don't know. I know that they'll look at the foreign market which I don't know very well. In my dream world, I would have Derek McInnes back because he's my favourite manager at Aberdeen. He brought me my first bit of silverware, but that's not a reality that's going to happen.
Nah, I don't know if Derek's going to turn down what he's got at Hearts to.
No, not at all.
The freezing cold Aberdeen again, and go for the Northern Lights. I'm just kind of looking at the run of form here as well, a lack of form, Beth, for both of us, if I'm being honest. So I've got the kind of last 5 games up here, right? You've got 2-0 loss to Motherwell.
Mm-hmm.
That's not that bad. Let's be honest. Motherwell are absolutely fine, right? You've then got a 2-0 win against Motherwell in the Scottish Cup.
Which was probably a bit lucky based on the red cards that was given away that day. It would have been probably a different game, but we take it, right?
Yeah, listen, that's it. There was a few refereeing decisions that will remain sketchy. And listen, that happens. In all games, some decisions are sketchy, some aren't. We'll take them all, definitely. Then lose 3-2 to Dundee. Now, that one for me was... That was kind of thrown away. I watched that with a Dundee fan who told me it was never in doubt, other than an absolute worldie. I felt like Aberdeen kind of had that one. On the manager thing, Beth, I just want to bring this in because Scotty Dougal brings this up. What do you reckon on that?
I don't think he's proven himself quite enough yet. I don't know how well the fans would take to him. Obviously, he'd done his season here at Aberdeen, and I don't think Scott Brown necessarily had enough left in the tank to be playing at the level that he needed to. He knew he didn't have enough in the tank to play at the level that he needed to play at Celtic.
Yeah.
So obviously they took that drop down to Aberdeen, and it was probably still not quite enough for that level. So there's maybe some disappointment and disgruntled fans there. With the money that he's been given at Ayr United, I think it's possibly been expected he would maybe kick on and do a little bit more. Obviously, I think they're still in 4th position in that playoffs section. They've got an opportunity to do something there, but he probably needs to get more experience under his belt before making that jump up to the top league. There's a lot of managers sometimes that I think, they're given jobs that they don't necessarily have the experience for quite yet. David Gray might be an example of that, but actually David Gray's done not bad. He didn't go through the ranks into the lower leagues before jumping up. But I think, a few more years in a lower level and he'd be a good manager in the future.
Yeah, totally. I love the ambition there as well, and not just accepting the fact that, listen, he's an ex-player, he's done okay at a certain club and whatever else, because like that as well, when you seen Celtic are looking for a manager and folk are throwing back into the mix, you're throwing in Ange Postecoglou and you're throwing back like anybody that's ever played for us, Robbie Keane, Scott Brown, whatever, blah, blah. Yes, these might have been fantastic appointments. Robbie Keane certainly would have, but there was a few of the fan base who obviously wouldn't jump on board because of the managing an Israeli side and things like that. There's kind of loads of wee things in there, but any kind of ex-player coming back, I feel, has to be at that extra level in order to come in and do a job, because they're going to be expected, aren't they? What about Robinson? It's in Mum Plunge's saying there.
I think
he's done a good job.
A few weeks ago, a couple of months ago, you said, that's probably Robinson's next step, maybe an Aberdeen or Hibs kind of club. But unfortunately, St Mirren have taken a real drastic turn and actually kind of look a little bit shaky to be in that playoff position. So although they have done really well, had a couple of top 6 finishes under them and obviously won the League Cup, it's not going well at the minute. So it kind of puts a little bit of a red flag there for you.
Yeah, fair play. And they won the League Cup against the Wilfred Nancy side, so it doesn't really count. Not really anything in there. The last result as well, obviously, when I'm talking about results, Beth, is a loss to Hearts, which again isn't too bad. So I'm kind of looking at your lineup there, and it's not actually that bad. Yes, you're saying you've lost points and whatever else, right? But other than a 3-2 defeat to Dundee and a 0-0 draw with Dundee United, the rest of the results are actually not too bad. They're probably expected at this point.
You're playing some good sides in there. Yeah,
I mean, like you said, everybody's fighting for their place and everybody's really going about it. I look at Celtic's last 5 here and I've got a 3-2 win at Kilmarnock where, was it 98th minute? Winner from Julian Araujo, just basically the linesman holding up the wee board until Celtic score, which was fantastic, and we appreciate that. Europa League, we had a 4-1 defeat at home to Stuttgart. That was an absolute capitulation. It was just hideous to watch. Kasper Schmeichel folding. We then went into a 2-1 defeat to Hibs. We then had a 1-0 win away to Stuttgart, which was a fantastic result. And then obviously the 2-2 draw with the Baddies. What I'm hoping for coming into this weekend, Beth, is that Celtic play both halves. That Celtic go out there and actually do something. That Celtic go out and actually... I've been saying it all season that somebody's going to get an absolute lesson. Somebody's going to get melted here.
Hopefully not us.
Apologies, it's already been touched on, but you guys expecting much from tomorrow? I mean, what's the general expectation from an Aberdeen fan going into this game?
I think it's difficult because every game at the minute, I kind of feel that I'm expecting the worst, but hoping for the best. But because Celtic have been so inconsistent and so shaky at times, it's difficult to predict how it's going to go. You know, Aberdeen fans and players always love playing Celtic and Rangers, and there's their natural sort of lift, raise your game when you come to these occasions, because you know good performances can pull out great results and a great afternoon, evening for the fans. But Aberdeen have been so poor, and I look at the squad that we've got, and I just don't see playmakers, people that are going to produce quality to pull out a result. At best, I can see a draw for Aberdeen. But yeah, it's like you said, there's that worry that Celtic buck up their ideas and go, if we don't do something soon, we're not going to win this league. And that might happen tomorrow night. I hope not.
Yeah, 420, one of our members in there, he's come in and says an absolute scud in his due at the weekend, and I really hope so. I spoke about it on here before. My first ever game that I can really remember was a Celtic Aberdeen game, and it was Georgie Cadet's debut, which tell my age. But yeah, George Cadet came off the bench and scored, and it made it 5-0, and we were kind of relying on goal difference at that point in the season as well. So very, very similar things, and I always think history's got a wee chance of repeating itself, so I'm kind of looking down that road in there. I'm kind of hoping for a wee 5-0.
5-0.
I know you're saying in your squad there, Beth, but it's kind of depleted and you're not really sure where it's going to come from. But who do you reckon is, if it's going to happen, it's going to be the ones to cause us problems? You know, playing a team like Celtic, the set pieces, everything else, we're pretty poor. We don't really deal with that well. So balls into the box are going to be massive. You're going to be relying on your main striker here. You're going to be relying, is it going to be Nisbet up front? Is it going to be kind of relying on decent balls into the box? Who's your main player that you think could maybe cause Celtic a bit of damage in there?
Despite his inconsistencies in recent couple of weeks, when he has had his moments of quality, Nisbet has shown up. He's scored a couple of good free kicks. When we played Livingston, was it 5-2, 6-2? I can't remember. But he really had a great game that day, and he showed up then. So if Nisbet decides to show up, then that's someone that can make a difference in the game. I really like Lyle Cameron in the midfield. He wasn't as good at the weekend against Hearts. That was probably the poorest game I'd seen him in. A lot of Aberdeen fans haven't liked the fact that he's on loan from Rangers, but it's not like, oh yes, they're our rivals, but it's not like we're Rangers and Celtic kind of levels of rivals. It's just the way it is. It's only for half a season. Just get on with it, sort of thing, you know. And if he scores you 10 goals, I'm sure you're not caring that he's from Rangers then.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like him in the midfield. He's came under a lot of criticism this year, but I do believe that Mityoff is a good goalie. He was obviously brilliant in the final with the penalty shootout. He does have those moments of quality, but I don't know if it's just been a lack of confidence. Obviously, the squad as a whole has been poor. And when goalkeepers make mistakes, it's blindingly obvious in comparison to the rest of the team because it usually ends up in the back of the goal. So if he's on his game and, you know, we're managing to keep you out, a couple of good saves from him might get us a draw or might even sneak us a win. That's my kind of 3 that I would pick out for you.
Fair play. We like Big Meatloaf because he looks like Steve-O. You come on, you see Steve-O sitting here, he's just spitting image of Meatloaf, and I know he doesn't really like that, but is it true you're saying there about the rivalry and stuff? And if I speak to Rangers fans on here, they always say that Aberdeen play 4 games a season and it's against Rangers. Is it true that you hate Rangers more than us?
Absolutely, like 100%. It's to the point where, like, at the start of the season, I was like, Celtic have to win the league because Hearts can't win the league. But now, Rangers have started creeping up, and it's like, Hearts can win the league because I can't have Rangers winning the league, because that is, like, the worst thing ever. Where I stay, there's 2 pubs. There's my pub, the good pub, and then the other pub, there's quite a few Rangers fans. And just the thought of that pub and them all, if Rangers were to win the league, it's a horrible, horrible thought.
Yeah, we totally agree with you on that, Beth. We really do, darling. That's a great shout. Yeah, for us, coming away to Aberdeen, I don't know if anybody's watched the press conferences. I'm going to kind of touch on the press conference with Martin Neill. Obviously, Martin, he's going to say what he says. He's never going to come out there and say, oh yeah, we're expecting an easy tie up in Aberdeen, we're expecting us to go up there and absolutely melt them. He's never going to come out and say that, is he? I think that the way we performed in the second half of the Glasgow derby was, I was going to say outstanding. It was decent. It was a decent performance. We went out and we showed a bit of desire, we showed a bit of hunger, and it's something that I felt has been missing a little bit. Now, if you can't get up for a Celtic Rangers game as a Celtic player, then you shouldn't be at that club. And in that first half, I thought we were absolutely terrible. We were really, really poor. So just think that we need to kick on. We need to really push there.
Do you not think, like, this was my criticism of Rangers in recent years, that with a lot of foreign players coming into the club, they didn't understand the mammoth of a club that it is and what it means to play for Rangers. And I think it's kind of happened a little bit with Celtic this year that, okay, you've got your Callum McGregor, your Luke McCowan, and James Forrest as well, but there's a lack of players that maybe understand what it really means to Celtic and how big of a deal and big of a task that is.
You look at that squad. We used to have the spine of that squad was champions, and a lot of the Scottish boys that come through the youth and that come in and actually knew what it meant to play for a team like Celtic. And I think that Rangers really, really lacked that, and that's why we got the dominance. And that's why I feel
as well.
Yeah, like I had said as well, when you look at other clubs, right, bringing in a guy like Luke McCowan for £1 million is a no-brainer, right? He might not have picked on and been the absolute stalwart in the midfield that we wanted him to be, but he's been decent enough and he gets it. Yeah. Like he said before, he's used the Tommy Burns quote, he's a young boy who got lucky, do you know what I mean? And he's playing for his childhood club and he's living his dream, basically. And you need players in there who have got that. Callum McGregor, listen, love Callum to bits, but he's starting to slow up a little bit. He's starting to get to the stage, like you said with Scott Brown, he's starting to get to that stage where he should maybe jump ship to Aberdeen. Right? Well, possibly not, let's be honest. Maybe get a wee move to Saudi or something with Brendan, but I think he's starting to kind of fade away a little bit. James Forrest, again, absolute legend on that wing. He's been there for so long, so many seasons, 17 seasons he's been there. It's madness, and having these guys in that dressing room is incredible. But then I look at the coaching staff that we've got as well now, and we've got Sean Maloney in there. Now, Sean, listen, wasn't an absolute icon of the club, he was a decent player, but he's been there, he knows what it means to play for Celtic. Martin O'Neill, yes, 74-year-old man, whatever, managed there before, gets the club completely. That's something that I feel that a lot of other teams are lacking, probably every other team in the Premier League when you look at it, because Derek McInnes isn't a Hearts fan. He doesn't have that desire for Hearts to win. He's got the desire to beat Celtic. That's what he's got. He's a Rangers fan, let's be honest. But there's no spine in that Hearts managerial side. You've got a spine in the team, but you don't have it everywhere else. And I think that's maybe something that you guys lack as well. So on that, would you be looking then at bringing in possibly an ex-player, somebody that you have had that you would look at there and go, he'd maybe be a good shout, he'd maybe be something? Is there anybody out there that you kind of think that would fit that bill? No?
I I think it's difficult because any guys that maybe would fit it are probably beyond Aberdeen's level now. You know, your Lewis Ferguson's, he understood what it was to play for Aberdeen. Your Scott McKenna's, great players that have learnt their craft at Aberdeen, but they're not quite at the stage of their career where they would be dropping back down to that level. Shinnie obviously 100% gets it, and you can still see that passion from him in the club and as captain. He just doesn't maybe have the legs to match the command and leadership that he does have on the pitch. So it's a difficult one. I can't really think of anybody that you would bring back to that scenario. I don't know.
Nah. Like I said, when I was talking about the press conference and stuff then as well, right? Saying about Martin Neill coming out, I was quite surprised that he didn't mention you've got the cup game coming up as well. As Michael Ross brings us in, Aberdeen got a big cup game at the weekend. That'll be their focus. What do you think there? Do you kind of look at the league as a manager here and go, right, wait a minute, it's Celtic, they're pushing on. Do we rest some players here? Do we focus on the cup game? I know he's only got Dunfermline, but what are you thinking into that then? Is that a valid point?
You say that we've only got Dunfermline, but obviously Dunfermline are in the stage of the cup that they are at. They got a good win against Hibs. It's going to be sold out at East End Park. It's going to be absolutely rocking. You know, Dunfermline will have the home advantage, and Aberdeen have been so poor. So I'm not, I myself, Aberdeen fans, probably not as confident. I think all your pundits at the weekend will say that's your upset is Dunfermline beating Aberdeen. Or maybe Partick Thistle beating St Mirren. There's a chance of that as well. So I think, because the league's done for Aberdeen, right? They're not going to make the top six. It's not going to happen. You obviously try and get that seventh position. But to save your season for it not to be a complete write-off, you have to be making that semi-final in the Scottish Cup. So I don't know. I think it maybe depends how the game plays out a bit. You'll start it and obviously aim to win it, but if it starts going into a mess and capitulating, then he's probably thinking, right, screw this. We'll think about Saturday and take Bhoys off and do what he needs to do to make sure people are fresh.
Yeah, totally. Listen, there's a lot of love in the comments for you as well, Beth. Everybody's loving us having
thanks everyone.
not just an Aberdeen fan on, but a female Aberdeen fan. And obviously, please head across and follow Beth along all our platforms as well, guys. She's absolutely fantastic. Does a great job. So, I want to talk as well about Kieran Tierney. Obviously, Kieran Tierney scores the goal against Rangers, gets us back into the game, basically. So, he obviously gets to do the wee press conference, comes out. Didn't really say too much in it. Basically, just kind of, we're taking one game at a time. We're doing this, we're doing that. We're concentrating on ourselves. We're not really fussed about what's round about us. I get that, but then that's birthday card pish to me. That's what that is. I'm a Celtic fan, right? I'm looking straight away, right, and going, yeah, we've got Aberdeen tonight. That's fine, but we've got Rangers at the weekend in the cup, right? But then we've got. Do you know what I mean? You're kind of looking away here and then going, right, now we get Motherwell, now we get this. And I'm like, I'm 4 games ahead, and I'm like, right, we win all of these, we do this, we do that. Surely the players have got to have that wee look ahead and go, right, that's we'll win that. Do you know what I mean? There's got to be that mentality in there. Surely you can't just be that professional all the time. You're just going to concentrate on one thing and one game.
With 9 games to go, though, obviously every game is now a huge game. We've been saying every weekend, it's a huge weekend in the league, biggest weekend in the league yet, because with the way the league's been, it is the biggest weekend in the league time after time after time. So I think if you do look at the big picture too much, maybe as a player it can maybe get too overwhelming. You start to feel the pressure a bit more, realise the mammoth task that you do have to try and have to climb up the table. But then it's like you say as well, you know, all these press conferences are a load of rubbish. I don't know why we do half of them. It's all very political answers. You never get any juicy gossip out of it or anything like that, an insight to what it's actually like in the training ground and the conversations they're really having. It's all a load of nonsense. So maybe they do think like that, or maybe they look at the bigger picture and go, oh shit, we really need to win all these games.
Yeah, listen, that's it. It's got to that stage of the season when every game's a cup final. You touched on it there, especially for us. We really need to go out there, and I don't care how we win. I don't care what the score is, as long as we win. Because the way I'm looking at it, right, Hearts and Rangers have got so many big games coming up. They've got to play us, they've got to play each other, they've got to play Motherwell. So there's not one team in that top 5 that aren't going to lose points in the next 5 games. Do you know what I mean? There's money to include Celtic in that.
You have to include Falkirk and Hibs as well. You know, that's 2 big, difficult games, and they're going to have a lot to say on how the league goes.
Yeah, 100%. Listen, like you spoke about John McGlynn. John McGlynn always gets his team up for playing against Celtic and Rangers. They certainly give us a game. And down there on I know their pitch is artificial, but it's not as bad as Livy and Kelly's. I've been there. I've kicked the ball out on that with my mate's wee boy. And it's decent enough. Do you know what I mean? It's a nice enough park, but again, it's having to go to that artificial park and having to play there. I know we'll be at home to Rangers, we'll be at home to Hearts, and the split. That's probably the only 2 games that you can put your heart on and say they ones are definitely happening. So I'm quite happy with that we've got the home advantage going into the kind of games, and I think Rangers and Hearts will be looking at that going, right, you don't really want to go to Parkhead needing the 3 points. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right, us coming up to Aberdeen is always going to be a tough one, so I'm going to kind of do a wee bit that we normally do, Beth. I'm going to talk about my team going into this game, and then I want you to tell me, obviously, your Aberdeen game coming into this, your Aberdeen team going into this game. So I'll give you a wee minute to think about it while I do my Celtic team. For me, I don't know, you can tell me in the chat who you want to be in, who you think will be in. So straight away, obviously, Martin said it. Sinisabo is in goals because Kasper Schmeichels is still sick. Or
I wondered that as well.
Sick of being in goals. Listen, see if it's just the way that Kasper's took a step aside and said, listen, I'm not up to my standard, I'm not up to scratch at the minute. Step in, have a go, help us out, do a job for the team. Brilliant. That more professional. That's fantastic. And that's what I want to see for players of his experience to do something like that. I'll go to my defence. Obviously, Kieran Tierney starts for me. Or does he? Do you put Sarachi in? I'll probably start with Sarachi. Rest Kieran for the Glasgow Derby. You've got to start Liam Scales simply because you don't really have anyone else. Yeah. Dane Murray, I think, will get another chance in there because he did make a mistake, if I'm being honest, for the second Rangers goal. But again, it's a lack of players in that position that we've got. I think we'll probably go with Kobe Donovan. I think he maybe rest Araujo, which I'm sure Beth would be delighted to hear because I think that guy's probably been one of our best players this season. That's kind of where I'm sitting at defensively. Looking at midfield, going to call it, guys, Rio Hatate. You know I love him. You know I come on here every time. You know I back him to the hilt whenever I can. The guy's had an absolute snider for the last 3 months, but comes on against Rangers and he's absolutely fantastic. Changed the game completely, in my opinion. So I think that Rio Hatate starts in there. Callum McGregor is shooting in. You probably then I'd put Luke McCowan, and then I would have probably Yang, Vankara, and Taneki. That's probably my Celtic side going into that. What about you, Beth? What's your Aberdeen side? What do you think about the Celtic side first? What do you think there? Do you think that's quite a strong side and realistic?
Yeah. How, not impressed, but has Kieran Tierney reached the levels that you'd hoped he would have reached since he's came back to Celtic?
No, he hasn't. Let's be honest. Kieran Tierney, when he came, I don't know what the expectation was. There was obviously a lot round about it when people were going, oh, KT's coming back. Yes, it's a KT that's been away for a few years. It's a KT that's now slightly older. I think he'll still give you that burst of pace, that injection, but in smaller parts than what we were used to. We were used to Kieran Tierney giving that for 90 minutes. Let's be honest, it was an absolute stalwart for us. Bombing up down that left-hand side, pinging balls into the box. and just being an absolute menace to defences, and obviously defending decent as well. But I think he is starting to come on to a game, and Kennedy brings it into the chat there as well. He is getting there. He seems to be, I don't know whether it's he's getting fitter or whether everybody else is less fit. I don't really know what's going on here, but yeah, Katie is starting to come onto a game. Obviously, gets his goal at the weekend. Celebrates well. Obviously, knows what it means to the club. I think he's still got a massive role to play at Celtic, and obviously we don't really have, other than Sarachi, anybody else who we can play in that position. So I think he kind of has to do it.
I think, Kieran Tierney is somebody that's been really unlucky with injuries in his career, and he's still had an absolute brilliant career. But you can only imagine how great it could have even been more if he'd managed to keep fit the whole time. The other one I was going to ask you about is obviously McGregor came under quite a bit of criticism this season as well. You've kind of touched on the fact that he's maybe getting a bit older and slower. Is there a scenario where Callum McGregor gets dropped at some point? Because when I watched the first half of the game on Sunday, and I thought he was pretty poor in the first half. I know a lot of the team were poor. And I could really see a difference in Callum McGregor's once been. But is there a scenario he ever gets dropped?
In my opinion, I'm not in the Celtic dressing room. I don't know what goes on in there, but in my opinion, Callum McGregor's one of the players that can grab a game by the fucking scruff of the neck and drag you back into it. Yeah. Like we spoke about before, somebody having that passion, that desire, that belief, that courage at some points. You look at the amount that Callum's won. Yeah. There have been pictures, obviously, after the cup final against Hughes. He was crying, and folk are jumping all over him, everything else. The guy's not used to losing. That's the problem. That was the first cup final that Callum had ever lost at Hampden in his footballing career. Now, that is a ridiculous stat when you think on it. It's absolutely crazy.
And I kind of thought that would fire him up even more, because you've now experienced that loss and you know how crap it feels and you don't want to feel that again. Yeah. Obviously, it's a team sport. There's more involved in that than just one player. But how much do you think when he's off his game, how much does that impact the full team? Because obviously he's such a big character, such a leader of the team.
Massively. You look at our team, and I've said it before on here, Beth, and a lot of teams I don't think have it. Like Kasper Schmeichel, right? Regardless of a few of the shitty performances that he's had, we'll not caveat at that. Let's just call it what it is. A spade's a spade, right? He's had some absolute sniders. But he has that mentality. He has that winning mentality, that drive, that knowledge. He's a leader. You look then again, Kieran Tierney, he's also that type of player. He's been the captain at Celtic, albeit for a few games here and there, but he's got that leadership mentality. Callum McGregor has that leadership mentality. Even guys like James A. Forrest have that leadership mentality because they've been there, because they've seen it, because they've done all of this. So when they kind of players are out your side, there is a drop-off. Of course there is. You need these guys in there to then push on. Lauren's put in there as well. AJ has it. Yeah, 100%. Listen, somebody that I think we are massively missing is Alistair Johnson. But then you look at the form of Julian Araujo and ask yourself, does AJ walk back into that squad? And that's a question for another day, because I think that's going to completely divide every single Celtic player. And all the Celtic fans, listen, we all get behind Callum. He did have a period of time where he was slightly poor, maybe not up for it, whatever else. I don't know what happened, whether it was the loss against you guys or whatever, but there was a period there where he kind of dropped off. And I think that he, again, is one of these guys, when it comes to this period in time, Brendan Rodgers used to talk about it. When it matters, these players then step up. These players come in and they go, right, we know what it takes to get this over the line, boy. And I think that we've got that more than any other club in the league at the minute.
Mm-hmm. And you'll need that if you are going to win the league, without a doubt.
Yeah, 100%. On to your team. Let's hear the Aberdeen squad. Obviously, spoke Meatov must be starting.
Yeah, I'd have Meaty off in goals. He's obviously came under a lot of criticism for some mistakes, but I do think he's still a good goalkeeper. He was in at the weekend. A lot of people say sometimes if he's got too much time to think, he panics, which I know that. I used to do that in football as well. If I had too much time to think, I'd absolutely fluff it and make a mess of it. So yeah, we're all partial to that. Devlin's out injured. He had to go off on Saturday at Tynecastle. Dylan Lobin, the young lad, came in for him. And he was getting a few starts just as Jimmy Tulane was finishing up. And then seemed to be out of the squad again when the director of football came in. Don't know whether he had an influence in that. But I really like Dylan Lobin. He's young, he's enthusiastic. He works hard. Even if he does make a mistake, he's always tracking back or trying to correct it. So yeah, I like him. I think he'll be in. Mitchell Frame, have him at the other side. And then Jack Milne and who am I having in the other midfield again? I'm not sure because I think Morrison's out, is he? Yeah, my other mid centre back is quite a difficult one because Noster, he's been out injured with a concussion for a while as well. So I'm not 100% sure who will go into that position. We'll just maybe have to wait and see on what day is it tomorrow? Wednesday. Getting confused, thinking it's Saturday. Yeah, wait and see tomorrow with that one. How's the young boy Frame doing? I think Frame's decent. Yeah. I've liked the look of him when he's came on. Again, another young lad, lots to learn still, but I think what you see with the young guys is the enthusiasm to go and kick on and make the most out of their career as possible. So yeah, I really like the look of him. I think they'll probably play Shinnie on Saturday against Dunfermline, so I would think they maybe rest him on tomorrow evening. Lyle Cameron, I think he'll be in there. I think he's been decent. Really liked him. He's kind of only one of the lone players that I've really been impressed by. I actually finding that, you know, when you get to the start of the season and you're learning who all your new players are and that again, I'm finding that it's taken longer with the loan players at the January window because nobody's standing out and being that impressive, and they're all just kind of get muddled in together. I think Geiger, he'll be in the midfield as well after his little spat with Derek McInnes at the weekend.
Yeah.
Who else will we play? They'll maybe put Stuart Armstrong on from the start. I don't know. They tend to like to take him on as a sub, but then if they are planning to use him, use other people from the start on Saturday against Dunfermline, he might be in there. There's some good bits that he does, and when he's good, he's good. But again, like we touched on earlier, I'm not quite sure if he's got the legs anymore. I think Keskinen will be played. Again, that's another player I've been really disappointed with. He's got some good touches and fancy touches, but his decision-making on the final ball is really poor. He seems to pass it when he should shoot and go to goal himself, and then he seems to shoot and go to goal when he should have passed it. One of those guys. Nisbet up top. And who else have I missed out? Let me just check my list.
One more on it.
Yeah, one more. Ole Sanya will probably be used. I'm not impressed with him at all. I would use him tomorrow rather than Saturday. Yeah. He just looks like he wants to win fouls all the time and lie down on the floor. So yeah, I'm disappointed with him because when he was at St Mirren, he caused up quite a few problems. But yeah, he's been poor. So yeah, that's my guess for tomorrow.
Fair play. Do you think then it's a two up top? Do you think you kind of play that with a kind of lump ball over the top and try and kind of get in behind their defence quite early on?
Yeah,
I
think so because, like you said, Celtic do struggle with that at times. They've tried to use Olasanya for it. It's not Kevin Nisbet's game. Kevin Nisbet's a box striker. That's what he does best.
Yeah. The best one I think he's had for that was your man. What was his name? Scored against us. Esther Stockholm.
Yes. Yeah.
Any ball over the top, he was getting in, he was getting on the end of it. If he didn't knock it on target, he was knocking it down for somebody. I think that's something that he's have missed.
It's a shame it didn't quite work out with him at Aberdeen. His enthusiasm was totally there and he worked really hard, but it just didn't quite pay off in the terms of quality on the pitch, unfortunately.
Yeah. We're going to get to that wee stage, Beth, where we're going to start asking our followers in the chat here, subscribers, to give us our predictions. You might want to turn away, shut your eyes, cover your face or something here, because I think that everybody is going to be on the Celtic side of this here. I think it's going to be
it must always be on the Celtic side. You just don't come on and predict losses to Killie or losses to Livingston, do you?
Not necessarily, but I did, however, predict the 3-1 loss to Rangers. I predicted a few other ones. I'm quite out there with it. I'm normally, if I think we're going to win, I'll go 4-0 all the time. That was my result every single week. It will go 4-0, 4-0, 4-0. And obviously under the man who will not be named, and we'll call him Voldemort. We were capitulating, we fell apart, we'll get beat off everybody, and I unfortunately called the 3-1 Rangers result, which I wasn't really happy about. But yeah, we're normally quite an entitled fan base, so to speak. Everybody calls it entitled and calls us everything else. We're expectant, I'll say. So I'll stick up a few here, and you can let us know what you expect. You tell me yours, and then I'll tell you mine. Sounds a bit dirty, that, doesn't it? But you tell me what you So Rubber Duck straight in here, he's going for 4-0. McLaughlin, 3-1 Celtic. Anything to 0 will do. As long as it's not a 0-0, mate. I don't want a 0-0, Jesus.
There's a lot of typos in here. I thought it was meant to be 4-0 Aberdeen, 3-1 to Aberdeen, 3-0 to Aberdeen.
I know, they're all just 3-0, 3-0, 5-0, 5-0, it was for 1-0. I like that. I mean, listen, I don't care. I'd settle for a 1-0 off of Meatov's arse. I really would.
That's the thing at this point. It's not about how many goals, it's just getting the 3 points, is it?
Yeah, exactly. And that's at 3-0, 3-0. Let me know. What do you think, Beth? What is the Beth Wallace result of the day? What are you going to tell us? Go for it. Are you going to come in here with a massive backing of Aberdeen?
Has to be 5-0 to Aberdeen. Nah, I'm joking.
Beth, here's £100. Stick it on the winner of this game. Who are you sticking that £100
on? I like to always be optimistic and assume that my team will do well, but unfortunately my optimism has to have been lowered this season. So if I'm being optimistic and I'm sticking my £100 on, I'm sticking it on a draw. I think it'll either be a terrible game and be 0-0 or maybe 1-1, I think is my guessing. I can't see Aberdeen winning it. I think it would possibly be a bit of a nervy time for Celtic. But yeah, expectations are low.
Exactly. It's that whole thing, and it's the wee. I always go back to Dougal Maguire for Father Ted when it's got the dreams versus reality here. You're like, yeah, this is what I want it to be, but this is probably what it's going to be, and you're kind of sitting looking at it. Mark Duffy here, yep, there's a lot of people. And
9-1.
It's going to be 9-1, so yeah. You okay, mate? I don't know what the deal is there. I would take it, I certainly would. It would be absolutely fantastic for a goal difference. I said it before earlier in the show that I think history's got a funny way of repeating itself, and I'm going to go for 5-0. I think that Celtic have been going to scud somebody. I think that somebody's been due a doing, and unfortunately I really think that that's going to be Aberdeen. Looking at the previous results, yes, they don't really concede a lot of goals, but they conceded 3 against Dundee, and that pushes me towards Celtic absolutely putting in a dominant performance here. I know we're going to rest players. I know we're going to be a different side to what we previously have had, but I think it's a time for some of these players to step up and show that they've got what it takes to play for a team like Celtic. So I'm going to go for 5-0.
Well, if it's 5-0, just be aware that when you click on to message me, it'll just say blocked.
Aye, it'll be blocked. That's it. That's all. Beth again. Yeah, if it's 5-0, I want it brought up on the radio show as well, Beth. I want it on there. But, yeah, Paddy for Celtic World Order predicted this. It really, really did. I want to touch on one thing as well, guys, and after that we'll say our thank yous and whatever. Celtic World Order podcast, we've been invited to host an event for St Augustine's Parish in Coatbridge, and the event is here, guys. I'll put it up on the screen if it's coming up. There it's there. So it's a night with Murdo MacLeod at the Parish Hall in Coatbridge. Tickets for £15. I will be hosting it on the night. Celtic World Order podcast are doing this to help the chapel raise funds for a kids trip to Wales. It's our wee way of giving something back to the community which we grew up. And if you've ever met Murdo before, the guy is an absolute legend. He's such an icon. He's so up to date with the game and talking about his stories of days gone past. And honestly, the guy's an absolute icon. I've been lucky enough to spend a lot of time in his company as well. So we're going to do that. We're going to do a raffle on the night. Loads of other things, guys. There's music for a guy called Hugh Gallagher, who is absolutely fantastic. So please, guys, if you can attend, want to attend, you can scan the QR code. That'll take you straight to the St Augustine's page. And if you can't do that, go on to staugustineschapel.org and you will find the tickets on there as well. Worst case scenario, message me and I'll sort you out. So just wanted to share that, guys. That's our little bit of giving back to the Celtic community. So anyway, just want to say a massive thank you to everybody else in the comments. At a high point, I think we had about 100 of you guys in the chat. So thank you so much for everybody that's tuned in. And as I said, please head across and follow Beth on her Insta. It's just Beth. Instagram, I take it.
Yep.
Is there any other ones that you think, Beth, that the people should go and follow?
I'm just Beth15 on X, and I'm just Beth __ on TikTok.
There we go. So get across, follow Beth, guys. As always, it's so good to have some fresh ideas and obviously hear it for the other side as well, which is quite strange because it's normally myself, Steve and Stevie on here. Battering teams and going, yeah, they've got nothing. We're going to scud them. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. So yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on, Beth, and I'm sure we'll do it again. Even if you're not a Celtic Aberdeen, you're obviously clued up on all of Scottish football, so we'll have you on and we will have a chat. Even come the end of the season or when the split happens or something, we'll get you on again.
Bring the tissues for the losing party.
Yeah, definitely, man. Absolutely fantastic. Listen, guys, it's been a pleasure as always. Thank you so much, and hail, hail.